good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Hamadash. I'm the CEO and founder of a digital growth agency called Formula, and I'm going to talk to you today about the digital shift. So what really hotels need to know about SEO, AI, and online visibility. So I've only got 10 minutes, so I'm going to try and keep it nice and succinct, but hopefully very practical as well. So 5 ways your hotel's visibility has changed in the last sort of 5-6 months, but also 5 very practical tactics to stay ahead. So to set the context for those perhaps unacquainted with what's been happening in the world of search, this is what happened in March 2024. Google had a big core update, and effectively what it was trying to do was trying to cut down on all of the huge amount of AI content that just started flooding the internet and ultimately was starting to rank. And we sort of described it a bit like this. It's not so much as they moved the goalpost, they just changed the sport entirely amongst the search community. So it rewrote large parts of how it evaluates site quality. AI written, but non-AI written websites were absolutely hammered. BBC News lost 37% visibility overnight. The New York Times lost 8%. Frankly, it was a bit of a mess. It was a sort of a clumsy attempt at trying to tackle this. But what was very key, and this is kind of the context of my presentation, is that trustworthiness and originality became king in terms of search. Over the last 18 months or so, it's got a lot better. It's produced another 4 or 5 different core updates that has meant that it's sort of undone some of the nasty stuff that it did back in March. So that's the kind of the context. 5 big changes in 2025. Keyword targeting has become a lot less linear and far more complex. So it used to be about sort of choosing your keywords. These are the keywords that our hotel wants to rank for. We want to make sure that we've got good user experience on our website. And if it's done correctly, over time, you will start to see your visibility and ultimately your traffic start to increase. Unfortunately now, there's a whole lot more to consider with who actually ranks for those keywords. So things like searcher's location, the context of the search, the browser's search history, and also the trending intent of the search. So all of these factors are sort of playing into what actually ranks for specific keywords that you want to target. As a practical example, I'm showing you 3 examples here of the same keyword on the same laptop, on the same browser, with 3 completely different results. So hotels in New York, I've got 9 different hotels that feature in the hotel pack. The 2 at the top there, you've got completely different price points, over nearly £600 per night, more like £100 per night on the right-hand side. You've also got a completely different date, a different map feature. And interestingly, Trivago is number 2 as opposed to Booking.com number 2. When I arrived in the States a few weeks ago, I then did the same search again, and again, 3 completely different hotels, different map feature, but also the interface had completely changed. So the advertising normally sits above the hotel pack, for there it was below. So it gives you a sense of just how contextual these keywords are, whereas perhaps once it was just very linear, hotels in New York, that's what you got. So it gives you a sense of just how things are changing. Traditional search versus AI search, this has kind of been covered a little bit today, but just to go into it in a bit more detail, previously you might have searched for hotels in New York. Now we know through the likes of ChatGPT, it's far more complex. Keyword matching is where what we used to do in terms of traditional search. Now it's far more contextual and intent-based. It's not so much now about the 10 blue links, but far more about AI-generated answers, maps, and reviews. And this is a kind of a key point, again, that was kind of covered today. It used to be very click-driven. If we drive our visibility up, we should start to see a growth in clicks. But unfortunately, zero-click summaries are on the rise. So in 2024, which feels like a lifetime ago in terms of what's just happened, but both Americans and the Europeans, they were about 1% apart. Around 60%, 59% in fact, of all Google searches in 2024 ended without a click. It actually gets worse for travel and hotel, where actually that figure goes up to 65%. So lots of people are either doing nothing, having their query answered by the plethora of SERP features that Google now features, or indeed making another search. There is hope, however, that 87% of guests still land on hotel sites before making a final booking. So you can see the way that the search engines are changing, and that's before we've even got into AI mode, which I will talk about now. This was mentioned earlier on. So AI mode was released about 5 weeks ago in the US. It's still early days. We're expecting it in the UK in September. Still no date on it. All we know is that it's Q3. So in theory, it could happen any time. But it's basically Google's sort of, I suppose, response to ChatGPT. So you can interact with it in the same way you do with chat. What it actually means is that for hotel brands, ranking number one isn't necessarily everything. And unfortunately, it means that we're going to see a steep decline in organic traffic. So where once we ranked highly for something and then we would see a natural flow of organic traffic, that's just not going to happen anymore. And as I mentioned, it's launching in September. So this is what it looks like. I mean, I'm sure you'll be familiar with ChatGPT, and here's my predictions. It's going to be giving hyper-personalized results. So if you're logged into Google, it knows your browsing history, it knows your conversion history, it knows what you've bought in the past, and it's going to be making suggestions. Here's the unfortunate thing. I think we're going to see a sharp rise in OTA commission for those brands that are not investing in search, or SEO, as it's sort of best known. The reason for this is largely because all the answers are being given there. And so ultimately, the chance of actually featuring and being recommended becomes a lot smaller. So it's going to be dragging people to Booking.com and other OTAs. So I think for those brands that aren't investing, now would be a really good time to start to maximize your visibility across all of these channels. Instagram posts. Some of you may or may not be aware, but this Thursday marks quite a remarkable shift in Instagram. Instagram posts, for the very first time in its history, will start appearing in the search results on Google and other search engines. What does this mean? It means that there's an estimated 50 billion Instagram posts that are now eligible to feature in the search in the SERP, in the search engine result page. So there's a couple of pros to this. Quality over recency, those beautiful, perfectly curated 3-year-old Instagram posts that have basically done nothing because such is the nature of the platform, it's very ephemeral. Those can start to rise to the top. So those really high quality posts will now start to get exposure. So that's a positive. And also for Instagram users, obviously for those optimizing that platform, it's a greater reach beyond the platform. Now, you obviously, previously, you've been confined to those just using the platform. It's going to give you a much greater reach. However, a couple of cons. As I mentioned, 50 billion posts. It's obviously limited to, it's not every single post. You have to have a public profile for them to rank within the SERPs. But it means there's a huge amount of search competition. Now, we don't know exactly how it's going to happen. We're all waiting to see what happens on Thursday and where things rank. But it does mean that there's going to be a lot more competition. And it is going to mean, I think, an even greater reduction in organic traffic. When a hotel guest searches for your brand name, they not only get your website, they get TripAdvisor, they get Booking.com, but they also get this lovely, beautiful Instagram post that you've created. But we all know Instagram isn't the best platform for driving conversion. We really want them on our websites. So it would be interesting to see what happens. So how can we adapt your strategy with 5 very sort of practical tips? Well, this is a bit technical, but we need to improve structured content on the website. So that means making sure that the code of the website is written in a way that search engines and other AI tools like ChatGPT, Layla, and all these other ones that they like. So put more simply, it's making sure lots of FAQs, rich snippets, events, articles, reviews, these are all really, really good things for your website to have. And since that core update back in March 2024, these things have become more important than ever in terms of how visible your hotel brand is. Brand consistency, there's a sort of a generally understood equation. If you've got consistency in terms of how your brand is positioned online, that means you're going to get greater authority, and that's going to give you greater visibility. I can't tell you how many I've done in the last 12 years of these sort of consistency checks, and I've never seen a hotel brand that scores 100% on all 27 different listings that Google considers. So it's worth making sure that name, address, phone number, description are all present. Some of them might feel a bit obscure, but it's sort of a bit of a tick in Google's box to say I've got total consistency across the board. Reduce ranking, what I'd like to call anchors, like doing a quick site audit of your site, seeing what the technical issues are. Even though your website might look aesthetically beautiful and high converting, it could have a manner of issues like no meta descriptions or low text to HTML ratio, at the risk of going too jargonous. Some of these things are actually really impacting visibility, and we worked with a client not long ago where beautiful website, very high converting, very high volumes of traffic. We fixed all of these and they saw a 160% increase in visibility in 4 weeks. So it can really have a massive impact on giving you more exposure to customers. And the metrics that matter, this is a wonderful tool that we've been playing around with for the last sort of 3 or 4 months. Otterly, it gives you visibility of it gives you sight of how visible your hotel is on some of these tools like Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Google AI overviews. So these give you much more visibility. And I think the point is around organic traffics and bookings coming from organic means, just no longer the sort of the core metrics that we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at sort of visibility and other metrics too. And to finish, adapt your social strategy. So keyword research for captions, alt text and bio sections, making sure that if you've got something like Linktree on Instagram, that it links directly to your booking engine, because people are going to be coming in from Google onto Instagram, and then that might be the point at which they're ready to make a booking. And also, don't rely solely on Reels. Photos and carousels are very much going to be making a comeback. So we offer a completely free, no email required audit. If you want to use this, audit.thisisformula.com, and it gives you a sense of just how visible your hotel is. As I think I mentioned, use the QR code if you want these slides. Thank you very much.